All right, guys, welcome to a brand new episode of Injury Time, your one stop shop for everything on Indian football. Before we begin, first up, a very happy new year. Hope you had a great entry into 2022, and I hope you're staying safe and taking all the necessary precautions because look around, COVID is still at large and it's just getting worse. So be safe, be indoors as much as possible. And let's talk football. Let's talk Indian football this time around. There's a lot that's happened from the last time we recorded a show which was just before Christmas, and we went on a leave because that's what people do during the holiday season. But now we are back. We are back, hopefully with a bang. Let's see about the firecrackers. Joining me on today's episode, familiar faces. First up, from Bangalore, a guy who just bruised his finger, if I'm not wrong. Sandeep, how's your finger doing?
It's okay. It's in ice pack, but yeah.
All right, all right, all right. That's up. That's up. And then from Delhi, from the for the cold weather of Delhi, Abresh Mina comes back after a long hiatus, if I can say so. It's been a long time. We missed you.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, your fellow member in the football team that you're running in the Delhi football circuit, Orko Bhattacharya. Orko, he looks disappointed because that's his.
Terrible intro. Terrible
No,
intro.
that's all you get for all the bashing and trolling you do for me.
And Shlok is saying, "Hello, boys." I don't think he notices that we have a girl in
Yes,
our
Shlok,
midst.
I'm also here.
So full
Shlok,
sexist.
what is this, Shlok? What are you up to? Okay, guys, we can continue doing this throughout the episode. But first up, let's start with what's happened in Indian football. ISL, we have a new table topper. Hyderabad FC went to the top spot after their draw against ATK Mohun Bagan yesterday. Manolo Marquez, Sandeep, you have been speaking a lot about him. You have spoken to him at the end of the last season, and this man has continued on from where he ended with Hyderabad last time round, and things just look really good for them this time.
Yeah. Obviously, they've done a very good job in terms of recruitment. He's got a great coach. He's worked with B teams a lot over the years. Even like yesterday, he said in his post-match press conference, he's worked a lot with the younger players. So ideal coach. He's got a new contract. I mean, he signed a new contract before the start of the season. So everything is ticked properly for Hyderabad. And yeah, I'm very happy for them to be at the top. I think they have sort of reached the level along with FC Goa as this neutrals favorites. So kudos to them. I didn't have a great expectation when they shifted from Pune to Hyderabad, to be honest. They proved me wrong, and happy to be proved wrong.
Well, things looking good for Hyderabad Orko.
Sorry. Yeah, I think it was expected always, and they just built on last season. And last season they came very close. And if you look at it at the last moment, I think it was Ivan who denied them the top four spot, the last moment defending. So I'm not really surprised. And I always say this: if Ogbeche and Wanan came good, this season would be good, and so it has proven. At this point, I think that top spot is deserved. Even yesterday, they came from like last minute they got a goal.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, like when is something's going wrong, something going right, like everything goes right, and when something goes wrong, everything goes wrong. And Anurag Saikia saying their year-on-year progression, yeah, I mean it's good to see that. I think also Manolo Marquez also is a major factor in this progression also. I mean, if you look at it, like in the first season they had Phil Brown, and I mean, no disrespect to him, but I mean it wasn't great by any stretch of imagination. So, yeah, I mean, Manolo's done well. I commend him.
Well, Manolo's done when Abresh Mina yesterday's match. Let's talk a bit about that against ATK Mohun Bagan, who had a new coach with Juan Fernando coming in. Right, a lot was expected. There was a good build up that this match got, especially from the producers of the ISL Star Sports, and the match kind of lived up to the expectation for you.
Yeah, it did. I think it was exciting. Obviously, it started like on a very high note with that 12 second, with that goal in the 12 second itself. So yeah, I mean, obviously, it was a great start, but I don't think anyone's going to be happy with the way they conceded that first goal. Yeah. I mean, so bad. I mean, they were doing very well till then. Hyderabad was trying to get back in the game, but It was more or less even. Like it
Right.
wasn't like Hyderabad wasn't overpowering ATK Mohun Bagan till then, but that goal went in some fashion with Amrinder. Absolutely, like I really don't know what he was doing.
Well,
Like
weren't you
how
having
could he let
popcorn then?
yeah, I was actually, yeah, I tweeted it. I was having popcorn, and I mean, literally, when that happened, that's literally like the first thing that came in my head, and I tweeted it out because I found it funny. So yeah, but it was so unbelievable that he could let it slip like that, and it obviously when it fell for Ogbeche at that point, I mean, there was no way he was not putting that in. So yeah,
Absolutely.
but overall, it was great. I think Hyderabad really had excellent intensity throughout the game. And I think that is something that pushed back ATK MB time and again. And I think why Hyderabad was able to score in the last minutes was also because they were just going on and on and on. I mean, they weren't
Right.
letting up, they weren't backing down.
Well, Sandeep, that goal that Abresh Meena spoke of, Hamrinder Singh, it's been, if I may say so, it's been a regular thing in the ISL this time around. Goalkeepers not being up to the standard, things have not gone well for them, and things even yesterday in that game it didn't look good for Amrinder.
Yes, it is exactly why when I wrote the story, I was like, I always write these stories at the wrong time. Because, you know, but to be fair to the goalkeepers, I'll defend them a little bit. I mean, can't defend them too much because a lot of them have been howlers. But in doing research for the story that I was writing, I spoke to Mark Gammon, who is a Hyderabad FC goalkeeping coach. And one of the things he said is it's difficult for goalkeepers in India to improve all that much because you're essentially 4 months you're playing, and the rest of the 8 months you're sort of more or less involved in ensuring that your body is fit, not really preparing for any competition per se. So he's saying
Right.
unless you have longer competition and these guys can continuously prepare for these games and have that experience, it's difficult for them to sort of go up in that level. I don't know why there is more mistakes this time than last time around, or maybe I'm just it's a recency bias. I don't think so. I think there is a lot more errors this time around than
Yeah,
last time.
yeah, yeah.
Someone was saying about the ball and all. I don't know if that is a factor. I don't think so.
Ball
Uh,
shit.
It,
Hmm.
it just seems like
it reminds me of
concentrate.
Jabulani from 2010 World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, the people who are handling ball in the World Cup is a whole other level. Okay, let's not even try
But
to.
Jabulani made a story out of itself
And then we
during
love
that
that
World Cup.
World Cup, right? 2006. Lord Austin
Oh, of
Frings scored
course,
that
I
goal in
do.
the first day. I mean, first game.
I
So,
absolutely do.
yeah, I don't think all those are the problem. I just think maybe it's something to do with concentration. And once you are down, you made a mistake, then it's sort of playing on your mind. You need to have a really,
Right.
really strong mindset to be a goalkeeper. And yeah, it's a little surprising that Amrinder and Gurpreet are both doing it more often than before. So that's a little worrying also from a national team perspective. But I think honestly, Kattimani has had a good season. He's really improved from
Uh-huh.
the time, like, to imagine what all he went through in the 2015 ISL final, where he was blamed for that goal in the final against Chennai. Although he saved two penalties, nobody talks about that. But that mistake is the one that sort of
Well, that's a
he carried
goalkeeper's
into the
life.
World Cup.
Everyone remembers what you concede and not what you save.
Yeah, it's the last action of the goal, right? So that's what stays in your memory. So yeah, it's tough for them, but generally speaking, yeah, it's not been great for the goalkeepers. Yeah, for sure.
Or can you pinpoint it on a particular reason why this is happening? Like goalkeepers have been so underperforming, if I may say so,
I think
especially this season.
we've said this previously also. I mean, this season, yeah, but this season I can't. In general, like I said, this generation of goalkeepers probably not the greatest because they've not had access to goalkeeping coaches in their formative years, right? Goalkeeping coaches are a relatively new phenomenon to Indian football in general. Only
Right.
like the national team, maybe the TFA in its early years, not even like good academies such as the CFA Chandigarh Football Academy or the Dempo Academy. Even they didn't have keeping coaches because I mean a lot
Even
of
when it
things
comes
have
to
been like it.
licenses, even when it comes to goalkeeping licenses,
Hmm.
it's a relatively new phenomenon in India,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
If I'm not
yeah,
wrong.
yeah. So for a long time, like I said, India had only three goalkeeping
Yeah.
three
Correct.
licenses. I think one was Gumperi, the other was Gumpe,
One
who's
was
also been with
Dinesh.
the Indian national team. Yeah, the other is
Yeah.
Dinesh Nair. And how can I forget? I seem to forget the third gentleman's name, but it's also a very famous name. That's obviously slipping my mind right now. But yeah,
Right.
for a long time we are only three goalkeeping coaches, uh, and you also see that a lot of the keeping coaches in ISL teams are also foreign
Correct.
coaches, right? I was privileged to see Viru Paji, up and close at FC Goa, and he's absolutely one of the best. He just puts his keepers through the absolute ringer there. Like, you do not want to be a keeper in training under Viru Paji. Biru himself was a Indian national team keeper back in
Correct.
the 90s. So I've seen keepers up and close also. I've seen Naveen Kumar, the great Naveen Kumar, up and close also. Yeah, I mean, a lot of things. For example, there is this tentativeness when it comes to catching. I feel,
Right.
especially when it comes to, let's say, claiming aerial balls, I always feel that that's a very big gray area that we have. I feel sometimes they're not as commanding as you'd want them to be. Essentially, I read Sandeep's what do you say, piece about how the goalkeeping is a lonely job and all. Obviously, I mean, it's a very Hemingway type of article that Sandeep penned, right? And I mean,
See,
I mean,
I
kudos
told
to
you
you.
the timing was not great. Okay, this
Yeah,
happens to
no,
me every
I mean,
time.
But the
kudos.
intention was the intention
Really, kudos to
definitely.
you to bring out the human angle of it all, right? And I agree, it's a lonely job, because nobody sees the striker that lost the initial ball, like you wrote in your piece, right? Nobody sees the defender that made the mistake, right? It always boils down the keeper. I get it, but in India, it just seems like sometimes goalkeeping errors are just of their own doing. It's not even like the doing of somebody else. Like Amrinder yesterday, like, what was that? Like, I mean, like, it was nuts. Like, it was such a routine catch, and there wasn't even any pressure on Amrinder. It wasn't like somebody was, what do you say, pressuring him. No, it was simple, and it was a dolly that he spilled. Like, it was unbelievable. So, yeah, I don't know. I think might be confidence issues, might be nerves, might be just lack of, I don't know, catching practice. I don't want to say it's catching lack of catching practice, right? That's all they
That's
do.
just lack of training.
That's the lack of training. Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lack of training. Yeah. But yeah, this should not be the case, considering that we switched from 6 players to 5 players in season three. I think
Right.
season 3 or season 4, and like, keepers have had 5 straight years.
And first position to benefit was the goal.
Yeah, because till then we had like half the teams played foreign keepers. I remember, who was it?
Right.
Apurla Edel, who played really well in the earliest seasons of the ISL and all that. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. Thanks, Akash. We'll move on. You're right. Yeah,
All right, all right. So on that note, since we've been asked to move on, let's move on, but not too far off. We stick with ATK Mohun Bagan because there have been changes there. A few new faces. Oh, a new face might prop up in the coming days. But before we get on to talking about that new face, Avresh Mina, Juan Fernando coming in. Last episode we spoke about why it happened and how it happened and all of that. But this man coming in and taking over ATK Mohun Bagan, this team looks as good as we thought at the start of the season again in the season of the ISL, right?
Yeah, I still think that they're pretty tentative at the back. There's just a bit more solidity needed. I think McHugh, if he can't come back soon enough, that would hurt them because he does the dirty work in front of the defenders. So yeah, I think they'll be hurt over there. But yeah, they've been decent. I think. They are kind of enjoying trying to play attacking football more because I mean, if you look at the players that ATK MB have in the roster, I mean, you'd all, if you just see them separately, you would be like, yeah, they're attacking players, they're great attacking players. You can go forward with them, you can use their pace, you can use their style, you can use somebody, you can let somebody be, if you're everybody's out there defending, there's Boomo who you leave as the last man and who can, run forward with the ball and all. So, yeah, you have a lot of great attacking players. So I think they're enjoying trying to go forward a little bit more and trying to play out a more balanced game than say a Habas who I think who kind of like focused a bit more on just having a very solid defense. And if you just go one goal up, you're like now you hold the fort. If you get another goal through the pace of Roy Krishna and stuff, that's okay, but then you hold the fort. So I think now they also have that kind of liberty a little that, even if you get one goal, you go again, you try and get more goals, score as many goals as you want, as you can, and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think they're enjoying. I think that overall there's definitely improvement. But yeah, I still think they like Juan Fernando will keep working. We've
Cool.
seen that with FC also. He'll keep working, and
Absolutely.
you will see that stability coming in slowly and slowly. So yeah, I think some work needed, like say in the defensive midfield and the defense.
Right. Sandeep, how do you look at Juan Fernando at ATK Mohun Bagan, the initial few days that he spent with the Marinos?
I mean, Abreshmina has pretty much done a thorough job on saying it, so I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, if that's the case, we move on to addressing one place that Abresh Mina said that ATK Mohun Bagan needs to address, and that is defense. And Bagan has done what Bagan does. As went on, is the January transfer window. They brought in a player who went abroad with the hope of playing in the Croatian league, but unfortunately couldn't play because he was injured. Came back, joined the team that he left before the start of the season, and he is Sandesh Jhingan Orko. What is the whole transfer saga that Sandesh Jhingan has had, going to Croatia with the hope of playing in Euro but not materializing, coming back, and now with ATK Mohun Bagan again.
I mean, a nice holiday in Europe. I mean, who wouldn't want, uh, a full vacation there? But yeah, I mean, it was expected that as soon as he would come back, ATK would sign him. Did we expect anything else? Because right now, I think only ATK or ATK MB or Mumbai City had the resources to sign.
Absolutely.
Right. So, and Lorso from the Gore says, why work hard, just buy players? Yeah, I mean, I understand Lorso's frustration because his team is probably the only one that's working really hard in developing players, right? That everyone else seems to cherry pick off. So yeah, uh, I, I completely understand. And I mean, I think a Twitter user had a very nice thread on what do you say, on how to build up hype around European signings, how to go to, and Abby would agree that it was popcorn stuff. It was, it, it was really,
Absolutely.
yeah. So credit to Ashlesh for putting it out very nicely, and I agree with everything Ashlesh put out in that thread. I mean, it's something that we've seen time and time and time again, right? It's not the first. It's not going to be the last. So I mean, as you have it, Sandesh Jhingan back with ATK
That,
MB,
that's
right?
that's your headline.
I mean, nothing's changed, right? This
Right.
is a guy who didn't play the season 6, then season 7 he was at season 7 he was at ATK MB. They came second, and then he missed half the season this time. So now he's back again. So I mean, has anything really changed apart from his pay packet? We don't know, right? So yeah, I mean, nothing really for me to discuss here. I mean, I know people want me to go into the depths of the trans. Nothing. There's nothing interesting that happened. And also, yeah, the poor media manager of NUFC is also made a request. He's yeah, I believe this is the media. Yeah, Anurag, hi. I get I get that someone you could have used someone like a Rathi at NUFC,
Absolutely.
especially given your injury troubles that you guys have. But as Naveen tweets with the hashtag Go Vocal for Local, so like the more players that get chance at NUFC, better. There are so yeah, I mean crazy and Sharad
Oh
Hanif.
God.
I mean,
Proper movie stuff. We're talking
But to
proper
be,
movie stuff here.
slightly on the defensive front. Of course, ATK Mohun Bagan, we know
hmm,
this. What is it called? Financial fair play. What is the equivalent here? Salary cap.
salary cap.
Yeah, the salary cap
What
is
is equivalent?
yeah, salary cap is that
It's
yellow
not the
light on
equivalent. Yeah,
the
it's not
rather
really
than
the
red
equivalent.
tap or blue.
Yeah.
Right? It's a suggestion as we see.
Hmm.
So they, it's right. Why spend on developing players and all, then you can buy Sandesh who will probably come into the defense and probably make it slightly better. So in that sense, sure, but I don't see it like okay, it's fine. That's the way ATK goes about. But I honestly, to be fair to Anurag, it's actually a good point. Sumit Rathi 2 years ago was in the emerging players list.
Yeah.
He has not played in 2 years. He plays
You
sporadically
They've
here.
basically
spoiled him. They've wasted him so badly. Seriously, he should have just gone somewhere else and played.
Right.
Not that he
you
didn't want to. Let's be
yeah.
completely fair.
With Rathi they won the league, right? Then they replaced Jhingan at 10x the cost of Rathi, and they finished second. It's I can't explain it. Go on, Naveen.
All
One
right.
of the
Something
one
else
of the
that
tweets that I
probably
saw
needs.
from a handle was a blistering return. It's like
Okay.
what? How is this a
It
blistering return?
it was
Let's since
more
we're
of
talking about Twitter threads and tweets,
it
there's
was more
something
of
that popped
whimpering
up.
return. I feel, huh? That
Hey,
was
it's okay. I mean, he got injured and whatever happened happened. It's
So,
fine that he came back. That's all is okay. But
but this is another question that had popped up. I couldn't pick up just the question because the entire context should have been there. So, question here is why is this happening in Indian football? Is it because of the limited pool of players, or is it the laziness on part of the scouts to dig deep?
it's a both. It's a little bit of both, and a lot of it is that it's not limited
what
pool of players
scouts?
per se.
What scouts?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I
What
was going to
scouts?
get in. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
See, who? Let's be fair. Okay, who is actually scouting players in Indian football? It's
Igor Stimac.
the agencies.
He
So
got too much.
Igor
yeah, there's
Stimac.
but that's the truth. So I'll tell you, if you are not smart with your decisions, then that's a whole problem. Like we cover local football. How often have you seen scouts sitting and watching? And we know who the scouts are. So if they are sitting, we know
Yeah,
who's sitting also.
yeah.
So
No,
it
see,
doesn't happen very often.
so I have a three or four pronged answer to Manju's question because I think
All right.
it was my tweet and he responded to me
Correct.
and I said, so which way I want to give a detailed answer to him, right? There are 3 to 4 points, right? One is there are no scouts. Like apart from let's say a couple of clubs, 3, 4 clubs, nobody has detailed scouts. And trust me, now you can get both match video and detailed stats on an instat or an FB ref. There are multiple, but no, people still are not using science to the extent that they should, right? In Indian football, that's number one, right? The number two, Manju's right when he says that the pool of players that are available are very few, right? People often have this fear that array, like someone's trained at ISL level, so he's good at ISL level. Someone's good in I League, but he's not trained. I mean, I don't know where that mindset comes from, right? To be honest, this training at ISL level, I get it, the intensity and all of that, it's fine. But if you look at it, a lot of Devendra Murgaonkar, for example, is an example, right? Came from the GPL and he played at the Asian Champions League level, right? And he's doing
Right.
pretty well in the ISL also. So between the GPL, there's the second division, there's the I League, and you know, so he came across all of these divisions and he seemed to perform well, right? So my point here is that maybe it's time to look at expanding the pool of players, right?
Right.
Maybe it's the problem is a lot of players keep getting recirculated in the system. That is something I will never understand. It's like you're performing, if you're it's like you're incentivizing failure, right? It,
Is Raju Gaikwad an example for that?
Raju Gaikwad is right. Certain BFC centre back also is right. Then you have a centre back from Odisha who's again, like, I don't know if he's. So you have people who keep getting circulated in and around. There are players. There's a player I won't name, right? He's into his seventh year at an ISL club, right? But he has played, I think, what, 3 matches in 7 years, right? So I mean, it's nuts, right? So I think the thing is that scouting, there you need to have scouts, right? Like now our friend has moved to Hyderabad FC, right? He just
Yep.
added to the pool of, and you've seen that they've done a good job, right? Now he's added to the, additional intelligence that they have, right? So now there are teams which are coming. You have Goa, you have Hyderabad FC doing it, right? So yeah, I mean, I always don't agree with the fact that ex players, or coaches make good scouts. I don't necessarily agree with that at all. So there are multiple problems, but the fact that I spoke about the market value, right? Manju basically asked me why it was so. These two factors. It is also the problem that the out of sight, out of mind policy doesn't work here, right?
Right.
The opposite is applied. The spin that is applied on it is saying if this guy was there, maybe they would have done better, right? One of the examples I'll tell you: if Mumbai City doesn't perform in the Champions League, right? It, a bunch of Lobera fans will come and say, "Arey, if Lobera was there, he would have performed. They would have performed well, right?" So this is, I have, I am not joking. I have seen a couple of people who sat out entire seasons just watching from the stands. People have reported
Okay.
that they were injured. They were not injured. They were in the stands, so that their market value won't drop.
Right.
Simple. There have been some very, very odd times that people have gone off with suspected injuries, right? Simply because they were having bad matches, so that the market values won't drop. So,
All right.
I mean, all of these factors.
All right, a few questions coming in on that front. First up is something that I tweeted out and which I, like always, got a few flack for it. I tweeted out about the number of foreigners, like having foreigners in the KPL, which is due to begin. Do you guys think that it will reduce the pool of players that Indian football has? I for one does. I for one do.
I don't think so.
Okay.
See, I feel I don't think it really reduces the pool of players, but yes, in terms of say opportunities to players at prime positions, I think it does. Especially because if teams go for foreigners, the first thing that teams would go for if they're by like the position that they'll go for a foreigner would be the striker position, and then we have this perennial issue that if you don't India doesn't produce strikers. So if I mean we if at every given level, if foreigners start taking the striker position, where is an Indian going to play in that position? And then you'll obviously not have players in that position to field. So yeah, I mean, I do think in terms of Indians getting chances at prime position, yes, you do suffer, but reducing the pool of players, no.
But yes, it makes sense. But we are talking about a fourth tier league in the Indian footballing structure, whatever it is, and to have foreigners there when going up the when you climb up the ladder, you'll obviously have foreigners with them because these are few of the arguments that came in on that entire Twitter flag that I got. That going down the line in the future, if they are to progress, they'll end up playing with a lot of foreigners. So why not start well? Was the one thing, and just two foreigners in the playing 11, so it doesn't hamper much. But like Abrishmina said, if those two foreigners are taking up your two key positions, you don't have Indians who are playing there, and which will eventually might go on to hurt the team, right?
Look, it's a difficult thing to talk about in terms of just playing time because you have maybe maximum three foreigners in one team, right? Maximum that you play in the local division is three. Most of the time, it's two foreigners. So your
Right.
first change is always going to be an Indian. So that is one. Secondly, in places like Kerala, where even the Sevens League has foreign players, right? That whole Sudani from Nigeria, if you watch, is a very true
Right.
sort of a thing. That Sevens League has foreign players, and that's a major attraction for them. So for them to continue to attract people to come to this league, they need to have foreign players who you may not know about them, but just the fact
Right.
that there is a foreign player brings more people into the game. So if you look at it from the sponsor side of things and everything, I think it's fine. It's like 30 players in 300. That's like
No,
10% or something. Probably
I think
less than
Hari
10%.
Harry's put like 22 teams and 33 foreigners. So
Yeah,
that's
that's
enough
not
for them.
much at all. So
Yeah.
it's I think it's fine. It's a balance that you have to strike, and yeah, it is what it is.
All right, all right. Well, there were a few more questions, and this had got to do with Hyderabad FC. First one is this one right on your screen now. Jawahar
Yes,
wants to
I
know,
think we
will
should have
Ashish
replaced
Rai
him
replace
2 years
Pritam?
ago,
Yes,
Vishal.
yes, yes,
Exactly.
yes.
Exactly. Yes, please.
I think
He
this
was
is
injured,
something
so
very
maybe
we're
that's why he
unanimous
didn't
on.
play the
Yeah.
I
last
think
time.
yeah, there's something we're unanimously I can agree. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Ashish Rai in place of Pritam will happen, should happen going down the line. Next one
Also,
comes one. Yeah.
also, people forget there was one more candidate 2 years ago who had a blistering season,
Prabir
and
Das.
yes, and
Yeah.
Habas dropped him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Habas,
Ruined him too. Ruined him too. Yes.
All right, so
ATK.
that's about that question. Next one comes from Kai. One of our regular listeners, person who sends a lot of questions. He's a big fan of Sandeep because he's the one who gets all the questions. Is Manolo Marquez the Spanish coach India deserves, but not the one it needs right now?
It's probably the other way around. The one that India needs, probably not one that India deserves right
Yeah,
now.
exactly. It should, exactly. I agree with Sandeep. It should
Yeah,
be the other way
he's
around.
All
a
right.
good coach. He's improving the players, so all more power to him.
All right. That about those two questions about Hyderabad. We move on. Few more things happened in the ISL. Baganella. What is the team's name? Mumbai City FC, the champions, the team that did double last time round, losing to Odisha FC. Well, so, but I'll go to Orko with this because he's a big fan of Des Buckingham. He wants him to replace Daniel Craig. Better suited for him.
I think the man is devilishly handsome. I think I've said this multiple times before,
I
right?
think I'm sorry. Orko just takes this from me. Okay, I was the one who first said he looks handsome, and I spoke to him about it. That his voice is also very nice, and he looks very handsome also. And he has taken this line and said it everywhere.
Okay,
I
Oh
we'll,
just
my
want
we'll
god,
inform Des in the next press conference that he's
yeah.
devilishly handsome.
Uh, no, but Des, I'm taken, so don't have get any ideas. Yeah, just
I
But that's not your statement. Now we know it's Aprishmina's statement.
yeah. So, but I
plagiarism.
independently think Des is devilishly handsome. Can I not have an independent opinion of his handsomeness? I do,
Definitely
right?
you can.
Yes,
Definitely you can.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, to be honest, yeah. See, I still think, and I think this is the hill I'd rather die on. I still think it's them going to be at the top of the pile come the end of the year because they pulled off some blistering results at the start of the season. Let's be very honest. Mumbai
Right.
City, right? Yes, but something I told at the start of the season, the defense is a problem. You have only a fall, right? You have Mehtab who can, who's like Mace said it was Jackal and Hyde performance. I don't know why
Uh-huh.
he said Jackal and Hyde, right? But it like he said, Mehtab can go either way. Mandar, not a left back, not a left winger, somewhere in between, and got like Jerry Mohammedanga just took him to school
Oh yeah.
that day.
Right. True.
He completely wiped the floor with Mandar that day, right? Amir Ranawade again, as somebody who's seen Amay very up and close and made a lot of jokes with Amay at Goa, I'm still not sure. The jury's out, right? He did well last year, but maybe right. We are in a situation where Mumbai might have to upgrade all three positions: left back, centre back, right back. Right? You have Vignesh who's not quite recovered from an injury. You have
He's
Rakib
fine. He's
who's
fine.
you have Rakib who's fallen out of favor. You have Valpuya who's never been in favor, right? So I don't know. Like I mean, suddenly Des has a lot of problem, and Navas early season form has deserted him
True.
clearly, right? So I don't know. Like suddenly
But
alarm bells ringing.
Nawaz, let's just blame it on the collective failure of keepers in the league this time around. It's not just Nawaz.
Yeah, no, but like I said, right? HFC is knocking on their door. So are
Correct.
KBFC. So are Kerala Blasters, right? And ATK are resurgent under Ferrando, right? So suddenly Mumbai City from being comfortable, yeah, what do you say? Favorites for the league championship. They're looking over the shoulder right now, right? And if I'm not wrong, Hyderabad FC have moved top. I think on goal difference, right? They
Yeah,
have moved
that's how we
top.
started the
Yeah.
show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So I mean, yeah, my point is, yeah, and I agree with Joshua also. The I mean, slight change is that I would say Goa did well in Champions League because they were, uh, what do you say? They were compact. Goa were very compact in the Champions League, right? And they matched the intensity of at least Al Wada and Al Ryan. Persepolis, they never stood a chance to match. It was some other freakishly high level for them, right? So yeah, man. I mean, and like I said, I mean, I really want Des to continue, but if they don't make any some moves, and Vinith Rai again, I don't understand the move because you have Rowlin, you have Rainier, and Rowlin injured, right? But you have Rainier, you have Apuya also, and you have Jahu also.
Is Raul injured? Like,
I
is
think
he still
Rowlin's
injured?
injured. You have
Yeah.
Rainier, you have Apuya, and you have Jahu
Hmm.
for the number 6 position,
Correct. Correct.
right? So I don't get the Vinith move either. If in case they're playing two sixes, if they're making playing two sixes, then also I think it's Apuya and Jahu,
Correct.
right? I don't get it.
Right. That about Mumbai City FC, Des Buckingham, problems in plenty for him. Yes, teams have moved ahead. There is a team that's moved ahead of them, and there are others who are looking over the shoulders. Orko, you mentioned about Kerala Blasters, and on that, like, since you did that, and even if you didn't, I was about to move on to Kerala Blasters because, yeah, again going back to Twitter and all the conversation that happened on Injury Time platform, which usually doesn't happen. It's a quiet handle, but it wasn't the case over the
The problem is
last few days.
Naveen tweets out his opinions through the injury time handle rather than his
Someone
own
has to.
personal.
You don't do that.
I don't do that. So if anybody's watching anything that comes in injury time, I have nothing to do with it in the Twitter
Yeah, yeah.
handle.
He's just watching. Yeah, he's just like what Herod, who just washed his hand before Christ was crowned.
Blasters fan,
Oh
it's
my
your
God,
fellow
so much.
Malayali. It's your fellow Malayali who put out the tweet. Naveen Peter.
But I'll say this to for the Blasters fan. I just did a podcast with Ivan today, the Kerala
Yeah,
Blasters coach.
Who?
I
should be
shared
out
the
soon.
thing with Naveen, so it
Ah,
should be
Bukuman
appearing on YouTube soon.
Again, he's like, I've shared it now. It's up to him.
No, no, no. We'll put it out because I have to edit the audio also. I'll tell you, and that day you put it.
Okay, okay, cool, cool, great. But let's come back to the match. Kerala Blasters, they played Goa, like pretty interesting match. But again, highlight was were the referees, Abresh Meena. Keepers are not having a good time this time, not, but referees are not been having good time in the ISL for quite some time now.
Yeah, and I think that particular day, see, okay, I saw a lot of people just saying that when it happens with Kerala, people say and all that. See,
Oh my God,
at
this is the
least,
first, this is the only thing
yeah,
I've been hearing.
at least about us, we can say that, there are not too many times we actually pick up the topic of referees or blame the referees, because honestly, I think all of us do understand that referees also, like, they're not paid very well, and there are lots of factors that contribute to referees not being very well trained in India. Okay,
But there's
so
something that Sandeep's already written about, so that's something you can
yeah,
refer to, guys,
exactly.
if you want to.
Yeah. So we don't generally pick up that topic, but that particular day, it was just like unbearable. I mean,
But like,
you
guys
could
getting
just, sorry.
kicked in the shin and not getting a penalty. I was like, oh my
Yeah,
God.
yeah. I was just, and then like that Otis yellow card that he got for apparently
Yeah.
diving. I mean,
Oh
like you could see
my
it in, like I could see it in real time. The referee was right there. How could he not see that as a penalty? And just little instances here and there. Yeah, somebody else is doing a foul. You're pointing to somebody else, and it's just it was just bizarre. I mean, even Leskovic getting a yellow card was mad. I mean, and that again, that was something that was against Kerala, right? But it was again the fault of the same referee. The refereeing overall was very bad. And I don't know, I read it somewhere, somebody said it only, I think, that there were four referees in that, like the four referees on the pitch. And yet mistake an identity and give the yellow card to somebody else. It's just bizarre. It's bizarre. I
It's
mean, you're talking about
comical.
the ISL, right? You're talking about the top division of the country. You can't have a case of mistaken identity like that. I mean, that day I think the referees just like they just didn't have their head in the game at all, and I think if they just left their brain somewhere else, and they were
Poor
just
Mr. Coimbatore.
very 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 bad, very poor referee. And they spoiled the game, yeah, because the game was actually going very well. The game was
Yeah.
very good, but both the teams were also doing very well. But then the refereeing just spoiled the fun of the entire game,
Right.
and that is something that annoyed me the most.
Blasters fan, I'm
Well,
sorry for Abrish, Mina, and Naveen. Yeah, first of all, yeah, go
Orko,
on.
before I throw it to you, like I have to say this. Like I saw a lot of messages yesterday. Like, why didn't you speak when Kerala were at the receiving end? Blah blah blah. Dude, we spoke about it. We spoken about it at length in our episodes. You don't listen to our episode, not our fault. Okay.
Why are
And
you
like
picking fights, man?
I am not picking any fight. I was just chuma putting out a poll
We are
there.
losing our two
Naveen is also just
subscribers tomorrow. Yeah,
frustrated.
because of
Naveen
you.
is just frustrated, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's not go there. Let's not go there. Let's not go there. January transfer window, few more transfers have happened. First up, Orko, you want to take this one? Jamshedpur letting Vasquez to Chennai in January.
I think Owen Coyle in his post-match conference said all that had to be said. He said, guys, I don't know where the score rumors come from. Nerka, I just have to get the record straight. Nerka had 2 goals in 14 games, right? Valskis, for me, very moody player. Like I said, when in the mood, will score. If not, has not performed, right? So clearly, I mean, it was a change of scenario required for both the club and player, right? In this case, I would say okay. I think, can you pull up the Vineeth one? I think someone said Vineeth.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Right?
Venice as well. But
Yeah,
that's something that we already.
I think Vineeth's also fine. I think that's fine. I don't get it from, it's not a dumb move from Odisha, because I mean, I think, I honestly believe there are a lot of upgrades in the market
Yeah.
for this position, right? On Vineeth, I know that a lot of people have said, "Oh, Vineeth started the blistering form." No, uh, no, let's not go there, right? There are upgrades sitting at ISC clubs, sitting at I League clubs, right? I don't get it from Mumbai, right? But
Yeah, right, right,
Odisha are clearly planning for the future, right?
right.
So
Got it.
it is. I think Odisha have done the right moves this transfer market. Also, they bought in a defender because clearly that Indian defender wasn't working out, right? They've loaned
Got
out
it.
a very player on very high wages, who for me may not be worth those wages, right? So
Got it. Got it.
yeah.
Like
So
another
there
big
is
move that
another
happened
thing
today.
to there's something to add to here.
Hmm.
Vineeth
Okay, go
is
on.
this guy who I quite like as a player, but it's been years that we are waiting for him to make that move from where he was to what he can be, that we expect of him, and he sort of stagnated in Odisha. Whatever the reason, maybe like he said, he's on high wages and he's been playing there for a long time. Maybe there's sort of a comfort level there. So
Got it.
probably a good move for him as a player as well, because now for him to even have a chance to play in that Mumbai midfield, he'll have to really prove a lot of
Yeah.
things.
So that way, yes. But my feeling is there is no way he dislodges.
No, he
Yeah,
probably not, because look, even Rowland injured or not, for him to now
yeah.
break back
Even
into the
Rowland doesn't.
midfield
Yeah,
is tough.
even Rowland doesn't get a look in, right? And Rowland is very good, right?
Yeah, and
It,
he has
huh,
to come back from injury, prove you have to upstage. Apoya was probably one of the best Indian players,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
Jahu was probably
Jahu,
one of the
yeah,
best foreign players who
yeah. So
basically
so
controls
we
the
need
entire
fourth
thing.
choice. Yeah, Vineeth is fourth choice in that
Yeah.
midfield right now.
And in terms of Vasquez, like Orko said, moody player. The problem also with Vasquez is if he's not scoring, he does not provide you with much. There are other
Right.
strikers, let's say Ogbeche doesn't score, but his contribution to the game is a lot more. Like Aridane last year for Hyderabad, the same. Or Clayton for BFC to an extent with this movement.
I
So there
agree
are,
with Joshua. Yeah.
yeah, so
Right.
there are players who can
Oh,
do
Orko as a
things.
fan.
There are players who can do a lot without strikers who can provide a lot without scoring goals. Vasquez
Got
is
it.
not that guy. So when he is
Yep.
not scoring, it's a problem. Also, I think Sloke mentioned this. I don't know about his exact details. I think a few years ago, when he was
Go
the
on.
top scorer in Chennai, he was getting a lot of goals that are low XG goals.
Yeah.
And like it was
Okay.
just he was in form, and everything he hit went in. So for
Yep.
him to, you have to push him into that level for him to be that striker that we
Got
know
it.
he can be. So it's maybe going back to a environment that he
Yeah,
sort of knows might help him.
Balski's had 1.5 underwhelming seasons now, to be very
Yeah.
One
honest.
and a half.
Yeah.
All right. Well, moving on, guys. There's one more
No,
transfer to talk
there's a
about. That
Vidyasagar
is
question. He's not injured.
no, no. Let's finish the transfer. Then we go to Vidyasagar. There's
Oh,
Marcelino
sure.
who's joined Northeast United from Rajasthan because I League might not happen this time around, given the situation that it is in. And Rajasthan for a brief moment yesterday looked like they had forfeited the league. Abrish Mina, Marcelino is back in the ISL playing, not playing. We don't know, but he's there back.
Yeah, I think he'll play also. I mean, Northeast, it's a good move in his sense. Like if you see for him as a player, I think it's a decent move. He'll get game time over there. He'll play also at Northeast most definitely. With Rajasthan, I mean, like what do I even say? Like
Like, but
I don't
let's
know.
talk
It's
about the
just
bigger picture. What's happening with the I League?
yeah.
They were
I
giving
think
lectures on how to conduct a bio bubble to the Nepal
I
FA.
I लीग नहीं, वो गाई लीग है, चली गई है
I,
वो
No,
लीग.
I
I like
honestly legitimately doubt if it will restart.
Yeah.
yeah,
no, no.
yeah.
So,
I
but when
was
this
speaking to
entire thing,
somebody inside the bubble yesterday.
huh,
It doesn't look good at all. कि वो, and that guy was very forthright. He was like, चार हफ्ते में क्या होगा? What will happen in 4 weeks? Nothing will happen. He's like, what do you mean you'll take a call after 4 weeks? And he was very forthright in his assessment. He's like,
okay,
nothing will happen. He's like the best that can happen is that the teams might play one leg this
okay,
this year. That's it.
all right. But when this actually happened, I was taken back to our last episode where Orko spoke about how I League eventually like actually works. Like you get friends together, and I was like, what bubble?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
are just chilling.
Yeah,
I told
exactly.
you we predicted this. Yeah, we saw it.
Yeah,
Exactly. So, for example,
we broke it apparently.
Yeah.
Okay, like on that note, there is this question that Kai had sent. Any chances of? I think first bit is already answered. Let's
Second
look
bit
at the
also.
second one.
Second
Second bit
bit
also.
also
What's
last
wrong
week
in
only
maintaining a
discussed.
bio
There are
bubble?
five teams staying in a. There are five teams staying in one hotel, right? Five teams में तो यारी दोस्ती ये सब होगी, मेरा number one ये सब तो होगा ही. So I mean it is expected.
Kahi meri
हाँ,
yaari ko.
it is
But
expected.
there is all Kolkata also is really not conducive for this league because Goa, whatever said and done, everybody has their own hotels and
Yeah,
it's easy to commute. The cases have never gone beyond a certain point in Goa.
yeah,
But Kolkata is in very bad shape and they have now
yeah.
started.
Bengal as a whole is in tatters, especially with this Omicron variant of the virus.
Yeah,
yes.
and
But I
also for them to crack down also is tough, and the travel and everything is tough there. So it's going to be really really difficult. Maybe a curtail league is the best possible solution that
but
I can see, and it's so bad for the teams also. As it is, they are running pillar to post without making any money.
Got it.
Then
But as someone who
then you
stayed
have
in
to
Goa doesn't have great medical facilities,
yeah.
but the bubble has been airtight for a second season running because
Yeah.
you've seen the IPL also, the IPLs also had breaches. The IPL
Correct.
also got suspended, right? Same thing with the I League, right? And same thing with a lot of these bubbles that have happened,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
The ISL bubble, I don't know whichever company is in charge, but like of the bubble, that is,
yeah.
kudos.
Bubble company.
Bubble com No, there are bubble companies by the way. There are
Okay.
companies by the way which provide these services. For example, when the IPL was in Dubai, there was a different company than the one that was managing the bubble in Chennai, in India.
Okay.
That is, there are
Who said
companies which
COVID did not give you jobs?
COVID gives you jobs. Yeah. Mhm. I'm thinking of
All
starting a
right. There's
sanitizer
another
company
question.
myself. Huh?
Yeah,
Go on.
Naveen is stuck or what?
Yeah, I'll just read the question out. Recently, some
No, no,
ISL.
he's slowly moving. Let's see if we can. Okay, he's gone. Like, fuck that.
Yeah,
So,
recent.
yeah, Kai has asked a question. Recently, some ISL fans accused Mohammedan Sporting of mixing religion with sports. Is
Ridiculous.
Mohammedan Sporting now only religious-based community club in India and should be considered rebranding? So,
What?
look, I'll say this about Mohammedan Sporting, right? They have always been associated with that religion because from the history onwards, when they broke into the larger context in the 1930s with five back-to-back titles in the league, in the Calcutta League, they were a club that had wide Muslim support, and there was problems caused because of that by the IFA at that time, which did not favor them at all. So all these things have happened. So I don't think you can just throw away a history just because some people have their have some problem with this, and you can't accuse them or anything. And this is not the only religion-based community club in India. I think Hyderabad has a few. There are a few others also. I think in Kerala also. I think there are,
Yeah,
but none
see,
of them at this level for sure.
see, that's what. Just where Mormon sporting has got to a very high level. That's it. You have
Hmm.
see, you have Mohun Bagan also who have always been associated with uh, Ghatis, the guys from this part of Bengal. You have East Bengal who were originally associated with, let's say, Bangals, right, from the eastern side of Bengal. So I mean, all of this essentially you have Celtic and Rangers. Celtic, so one is Protestant, one is Catholic, right?
Celtic
So
is Catholic.
yeah, so one is Protestant, one is Catholic, right? So I mean, are you going to tell them to shed their identity? You can't, right? You can't do it, because essentially that is the start of everything, right? Football clubs started because of some shared identities they had. Like, for people who support Manchester United, they start off as a group of railway workers, right? So I mean, I don't know. I actually think, for Mohammedan sporting, right, it's a very good idea for sustainability. They can get funding from all the way from, let's say, Malaysia to the Gulf. Like, the world is their oyster if they choose to, really capitalize on it, right? I actually don't think there's any problem at all with this.
And honestly, it's as simple as that. It just, the whole accusation thing just comes out of the environment we're having in the country as a whole, in terms of the political scenario. That's it.
Yeah,
It's as
and
simple as that.
to be honest, in the 30s, you had clubs known as the Hindu Gymkhana Club also. You had the Hindu club also. You have the Young Christian Club also. So you have all of this, right? To be honest, are Mohammedan sporting not? Do they not have Hindus? They have Hindus. Like they're not being, what do you say, restrictive in their, what do you say, and
I
they're,
mean, there was a time when they didn't, but later on
yeah.
they
See,
did.
there was a time when Mohun Bagan didn't have foreign players also,
Hmm.
right? But things change. They change. They're at least trying, making an attempt to be a professional outfit after some 9-10 years, after a gap of a long time, right? They came back to the I League. They won the second division and all of that. I think, boy, unnecessary controversy was some by some ISL fans, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, we have to look at our history and
Culture.
culture also,
Yeah.
and take into account where these clubs are coming from. Like Mohammedan Sporting in the context of an Indian historical perspective in football is a massive club. They had the player
Yeah.
Salim who went on to play for Celtic and came back and all that.
They're
So
the
it's
first Indian club to win the Rovers Cup. The
yeah, a
first
first
Indian club.
Indian club to wear boots.
The first
Uh,
Indian club to win a foreign tournament, the Aga Khan
yeah,
Cup in 1959.
Yeah. They were absolute visionaries in the 30s
Yeah,
because
yeah,
the story goes that they were the first ones to wear boots
yeah.
and they didn't wear it full time. They wore it only when it rained. So they would have the boots on the sidelines
Hmm.
and play barefoot. When it rains, they'll wear the boot and
Hmm.
suddenly they are almost unplayable.
Hmm.
And they could get players from Hyderabad and all these places because of their identity. And they dominated for a long time and paid a price for it also from the Indian Football
Yeah, yeah,
Association, which is
yeah.
the Calcutta, who was at
I
that time
think
one of
people
the
just forget
presidents.
history. People just forget history and our culture when it comes
Yeah,
to football.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So Naveen is actually out of the
Hmm.
thing because I think his internet is conked off.
Hmm.
So let's look at his, one of the questions that has been sent on Twitter is by a friend of mine. He has asked a little bit about Goan football history because I think Marcus was talking about being them playing football back in before Brazil. So I did some digging from the literature I had. So basically, the history of Goan football is different from the rest because it came from a Portuguese background rather than British background. Started around 83, like Marcus said. It's like the church's way of, similar to how British brought football, which is their muscular Christianity, is what they try to impose through football. And that's the same way that these Portuguese also brought it in. And they introduced it into schools. Churches have schools and a ground. That's basically how they were set up back in the day.
It's it's similar to how football grew in South America as well as in places like
Exactly. Yeah,
in
because Brazil
Mizoram.
is also Portuguese, right?
Yeah, yeah. In
So,
no, even in Mizoram, right?
yeah,
Essentially,
exactly.
religion was the driver for football, because Mizoram is a very space constricted place, right? It's a very narrow place. So the only place they could play are like front yards of churches, right? So So this way, football grew in both
Yeah.
in Goa and in
Yeah, and
we say,
Goa is a little bit different in the from the rest of the world, that rest of the country rather, is because it's like a village setup in Goa, which is sort of ideal for this because
hmm.
each village had a certain relationship with the community and the caste and all of those
Uh,
tight identity, which sort of helped them because they
uh,
would play against each other. Local population
no, I'm
cared
saying
about community.
even today, panchayats actively send
Absolutely, yeah,
teams. Kalangut, Salsette, they actively send youth club of Manora, right?
yeah,
So they actively send. Yeah,
yeah.
sorry, that,
So
I disagree with Joshua. That is not the statue that Goa deserved. Probably a Bruno Coutinho statue would have been better
yeah,
for
but
me.
yeah, I'm not getting into that one. I'm still sticking with history only.
History, yeah, yeah,
Then,
go on.
because then they grew sort of because of the economic growth that happened in Bombay. A lot of these people, a lot of Goans migrated there, and they carried their identity with different villages in football,
Hmm.
and they set up their own teams over there also.
Hmm.
So then that became like this connection that they maintained with Goa,
Hmm.
and social ties and everything happened over there. And you can see Goan clubs named with Goans, FC Goans, SC Goan, etc. In Mumbai, it's there. In Bangalore, it's there.
Uh-huh.
So that's where they come from historically. And then 1950s, obviously, Portuguese had this pressure to leave India because India was independent and they were trying to hold on to that area. And they said we are distinctly non-Indian because we are more Portuguese, etc. And football was a means for them to show that they were different. And then all these industrial organizations came through, Salgaonkars, Dempos, all these
Hmm.
mining people also came in.
Hmm.
And that also helped lift the profile of the league and move on. And they had a two-division league in 1950 itself. Okay, so they started
Hmm. Yeah.
really early with this.
Hmm.
So that culture was really, really deeply seeped into it. And when Portuguese actually left, there was a lot of discussion whether Goa will join Maharashtra and Mysore, which is Karnataka now, Mysore state at that time. They also wanted it in their jurisdictions. There was a lot of politics based on religion and all those. But eventually they became their own entity, and this Fatorda that they built was a sort of a monument to their identity that they have constructed as a showpiece for this is Goan identity, this is Goan football. Look at this massive uh, political context, wala huge stadium that we've built.
Hmm.
So to this day, like you said, all these village tournaments continue. They play against each other, and this
Hmm.
that is why Goa is special and sort of different, but similar to Northeast in a lot of ways.
For
In
a
terms of,
yeah, but yeah, for a 180-kilometer stretch, Goa has 210 registered clubs.
yep,
That's insane, right? That's insane. And I
that's
also tell
insane.
you one thing. I've seen this in Pune. I've seen this in places which don't have football culture. The Malayalis, the Goans, and to an extent the Bengalis, they are the ones who start clubs also. In Pune, for example, the Goans have a club, the Malayalis have a club.
Yeah, I know the Malayali club. My friend used to play for that.
Yeah, I forgot the club's name right now, right?
Yeah.
But I'm saying wherever they go, they take their football culture along with them, which is really heartening to see. And honestly, Goa is a gold mine when it comes to football. Like I honestly saying this, right? But yeah, I mean the work that FC Goa also doing there is fantastic with the community and all of those guys, right? The work that the likes of Derek, Clifford, Ravi, Akshay, all put in, Amrit, Loki, they all put in, like is amazing there. So, but not to forget the old timers also. And imagine a place where if the association was better, right? There are six powerhouses. There are six powerhouses. There's Vasco, there's
Yeah.
Salgaonkar, there's Dempo, there's Sporting, there's Churchill,
Sporting.
and there's FC
Churchill.
Goa. Right?
Yeah.
Can you name any other place today which has six powerhouses? Right? Maybe a Bengal at which once upon a time the Bhawanipur, Toliganj, Agrakami were big clubs. United SC were big clubs, right? But even till today, these
Yeah,
clubs,
Tollywood has a better cricket team.
yeah, perhaps I don't know, right? But I don't follow cricket. But I'm saying Goa, incredible. What do you say? Incredible potential football wise, right? Especially because of what Sandeep said, the village tournaments that happen
Correct.
are the essentially the breeding grounds of, for example, Princeton started playing someone like a Princeton, someone like a Gamma. Someone like Gamma comes from I actually forgot the place name, but it's a place where it's a very rough style of football they play, right? And that helped in like toughening Gamma up. right? Even inside Goa, there are places which play different styles of football, right? Uh,
Yes, that's still there. It's there in Bangalore also to an extent.
huh.
How they play. It's very unique to them. In Princeton, there is a nice story.
Hmm.
Princeton comes from the village that Clifford comes from.
Kurturim, I think.
Yeah,
Kurturim,
I
huh?
don't remember exactly, but
I
Clifford
think
comes
so.
from there. So
Yeah.
he grew up watching Clifford,
Clifford, yeah.
and Clifford grew up watching Princeton's uncle,
Yeah.
Yep.
who was also playing, I think, for Salgaonkar or something at that time. So there is that link of these players who have seen one of them go and play for the national team or go and play for a big club, and so there is
Correct.
always this idea that, oh, I can also do this if
Yeah.
I work hard, and that's motivation, and that's
Yeah.
tangible results that you
Absolutely.
get.
and
Right?
and actually there's this considerable shift in Goan football, is that in the 80s and someone like a Bruno Coutinho, right, had an 18 lakh offer from Bagan, I think in the 90s, 99,
Correct.
right? He didn't go out for a long time. I mean, yes, Marcus has written a couple of stories, but those are the exceptions. For a long time, Goan footballers did not go out. The likes of Brahmanan Shankwakar, for example, maybe a Derek Pereira, they did not actively seek opportunities outside the state. That is now changing. Now you have a Jessel Carnero, you have a Liston Colasso, right?
Lindsay Barrett.
Quincy Barreto. You have a lot of people. Ronaldo Oliveira was playing at Bengaluru United. So you're seeing a lot of players now, because for a long time, right? Goans were, I mean, it's a generalization, but they may not always like to go outside their share, and you get why, right? The AQI is single digit. I mean, being in Delhi, I get why they don't want to move outside Goa, right? So
Especially in
yeah, I
today's
mean,
time.
yeah, no, the AQI is at least 100 times here what it is there. So I mean, yeah,
All right, guys. All right. I think that wraps up today's episode. I wanted to discuss the match that has already started. No point in doing that. Let's just go ahead and watch it rather
Isham
than
Khan
talking
scored a
about
goal
it, right?
also.
Yeah. So there you go. Northeast is already leading. So let's just go and watch the match rather than talk about it.
Actually, offside
Thanks.
suspect, I think.
Yeah, you may continue watching the match. I'll let you go. Thank you, Sandeep. Thanks, Aprishvina. Thanks, Orko, for joining us. It's been great having you, and we'll be back next week with more on Indian football. Thanks a lot, and enjoy.